Welcome to tigerLAB Bites, a content stream that informs, inspires and brings us together. tigerLAB Bites brings you into Curzon building, where you will meet the lifeblood of our university, those that initiate and transform thoughts and minds. Of course, I'm referring to our academics. In this episode of tigerLAB Bites, we will learn about neurosciences and leadership. With us is Professor Alexandros Psychogios, a leading academic and leading author here at Birmingham City Business School. Alexandros, tell me, what is, from your perspective, leadership?
Well, leadership is not a science, it's not an art either. Leadership is a behavior, and as a behavior includes simultaneously feelings, thoughts and attitudes. Leadership is a very complex phenomenon and we need to understand that. And it is complex phenomenon because it is dynamic, it is not the same. It evolves all the time, it is changing. Different generations may view leadership in a different way. We need to understand that. And leadership is also a very complex phenomenon because it depends heavily not only on the leader, but also to another very important part of leadership, who is the follower. The leader and the follower together, they consist what we call as leadership. The interaction between the two is where leadership is hidden. And also this interaction takes place every single time in a particular context. So the leader, the follower, the interaction between the two and the context are the three very extremely specific components that we need to take into account when we try to understand about leadership.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so leadership is the leader, the follower, and the context. Okay, so what is this neuroscience, and how can it help us understand this complex phenomenon of leadership?
Well, neuroscience is the study of the human brain. Neuroscientists, especially through the development of specific medical technologies like fMRIs, they try to understand how the human brain works. And this is exactly where human behavior is hidden in our brains. And what I said before, that leadership is a behavior, is a human behavior. So neuroscience can help us understand better this particular behavior that we have, all of us, leadership. And especially, neuroscience can help us understand and make aware more about ourselves as leaders, and what we do and the way that we think, and why we behave in the way that we behave. Also, neuroscience helps us understand about our followers, our employees inside organizations, and the way that they behave, why they resist, for example, to change. And finally, neuroscience can help us understand how the context, the environment, can influence our attitudes, can influence our behaviors inside this leadership game.
Thank you, Alexandra. So our next question is from Naeem Arif from United Carpets. Over to you, Naeem.
Hi Raj, I've got a question for Alexandros. Based on neuroscience research, can you give us some insights and practical knowledge for leaders of people and managers like myself?
Thank you, Naeem. That's really a very interesting question. Well, neuroscience, although is the study of the human brain, has a lot of implications for management studies and leadership studies in particular. The last 10 years, maybe more, there are very good scientific evidence, with the help, of course, of neuroscientific methods, that explain to us human behavior in leadership situations. They explain to us, in other words, leadership behaviors. However, what we have tried to do in our book, Neuroscience for Leaders, is to develop a particular framework that we call the Brain Adaptive Leadership Framework, in order to give more practical insights for managers, for people like you. These practical insights are referring to the three parts of the brain: the thinking part, the emotional part, and the brain automations part. For the thinking part, what we say is that the best thing that managers can do, that leaders can do, is to avoid confusion and overload of information. This brain is really thirst for information. But don't forget, a little bit of more information to the brain doesn't mean that the brain will end up with the right decision. So what we need to do, we need to help the brain focus. We need to help the brain focus by reminding what is the purpose of the project or of the process or of the target overall, and providing explanations. Explanations is the key. We need, as managers, to learn to provide explanations, to explain our decisions. The second pillar is the emotional pillar. This is very, very important pillar. Emotions motivate, as I always say in my lectures, not numbers. But we need, first of all, to find the right emotions. Well, both negative and positive emotions can help us. Negative emotions usually are good when we don't have the time to think, when we are under crisis, but only that time. Positive emotions seem to be better when we want to enhance problem-solving skills, when we want to achieve a long-term target. So if you want that, bet on positive emotions like enthusiasm and enjoyment. Also, the brain likes small wins. The brain likes to know that he or she is closer to the end goal. This is something that we never forget. And finally, personalization. We need to emotionalize the situation by personalizing the whole context of the project. And finally, brain automations, equally important. We need to understand here that habits are very important for the human brain. Habits can save energy in our decision-making process. Some habits are really very good, some habits are not that good. All habits are related to triggers, so we need to identify these triggers that initiate habits or enhance habits, and of course additional triggers that can cancel habits that we don't want to have. These are the three things that we suggest, of course with more practical examples in our book, and these are the three things that I can quickly and nicely give you today.
Thank you, Alexandros. I really like the way you brought the thinking, the emotions, and the habits together. Thank you very much for coming on tigerLAB Bites. So those of you that are interested in finding more about Alexandros, his research, his thought leadership, etc., check out his book, Neurosciences for Leaders. It's in the show notes of this video. If you want to click on there, you can sort of buy the book and find out a little bit more about Alexandros. Thank you very much. See you at the next one.